Hey guys, my name's Miranda Hagerman, and for this week we did a child interview using one of the reading interest surveys provided by our instructor. And this survey that I chose to do my interview with was the reading interest survey from Scholastic. And the child that I selected to interview was a 13-year-old boy that's currently in the 7th grade. For the purpose of my paper and to protect the privacy of the child, I actually used a different name for the child in my paper. So the interview that I conducted was a structured interview using the survey that I mentioned before, the reading interest survey from Scholastic. The child that I chose to interview did not have any known disabilities or reading issues, and no family or social characteristics that were pertinent were identified. And in regards to like reading behaviors, this child does not usually like to read very much. So when I started out the interview, I asked him what types of books he liked to read, and he stated that he usually doesn't like to read, but when he does, he likes books like mystery books or survival-based books is what he said. When I asked him about specific books in those genres that he liked, he really couldn't name any titles of the stories that he enjoyed. But when asked what his favorite book was, he replied that his favorite book was Hatchet. And when he said Hatchet, he meant Hatchet by Gary Paulson, after asking him a couple more questions. Now, when I asked him what he liked about the particular book, Hatchet, he said it's like survival based, so he said he liked the plot of the book the best. And then he said the plot was my favorite, and he likes those kinds of survival type books. So I moved on after that. I had tried to probe him a little bit more, and he couldn't really give me a whole lot more information. But when I asked him what his favorite place to read was, he said he likes to read in the classroom with all of his classmates around. And so I kind of found that interesting, so I kind of probed a little bit more, and he said that he reads in the classroom and that he likes reading around other people, and he likes reading when he doesn't have anything to do. And I asked him, because when you're in a classroom or a room full of people, it's really noisy, and a lot of people like to be in the quiet when they read. But he said that it doesn't really matter if it's quiet or not, it doesn't bother him. So he doesn't really read anywhere but at school in the classroom is what he said. When asked, the next question in the survey was about series books. So when I asked him about his favorite series books, he said that he didn't have one because he never really read any series books. He's never really been introduced to series books. He's never read any, so he couldn't really pick out a favorite one because he never read any. So I kind of moved on from that, and when I asked him about whether he liked fiction or nonfiction, I kind of had to explain what each of them were a little bit. I told him that nonfiction was make-believe, made-up stuff, and then nonfiction was real life. And so when I said that, he said he likes he said, I like made-up stuff better. He liked fiction. And when I asked him why he liked fiction, he said that real life stuff is boring to read. He did not like information about real life, real information. And the last question I asked him was a three-parter. I asked if there was anything else he liked to share, and he kind of didn't respond to that. But then I probed more into, I asked him if there was anything hard about reading for him specifically, and he said big words. And I said, what do you mean by that? And I wanted him to kind of explain to me what about big words was hard for him. He said that big words in books he doesn't understand. It's hard for me, just big words. And so I'm assuming the vocabulary, when he finds big words, he stumbles over them or he doesn't understand. And he said he gets kind of frustrated. So the third part to that question was if there was anything that he wanted to learn personally as a reader. And when he answered that, he said he wanted to be able to read faster, and he would like to read a little bit faster and to be able to understand while reading fast. So that kind of goes in, I guess, with struggling with a vocabulary and words. So to end the interview, when I, at the end of the reading survey, there's a list of different types of books at the end of the reading interest survey from Scholastic, and it's kind of like a check off. So I asked him to check off his favorites from the list, and he checked off books, the types of books: mystery, he checked off adventure, comics, but he said only some comics. He didn't like all comics, just some. And then when I asked him about poetry, he said he likes some poetry, but not all of it. He doesn't like a lot of it, he just likes some of it. He likes folktales, fantasy. He checked off funny books as well. What he didn't check off, which is kind of, I think, normal for his age, he didn't check off animal stories. How-to books, he didn't like those. He does not like fiction books, so he didn't check off biographies. He said no to science books, newspapers, or magazines. He said no to series, I'm assuming because, like I said earlier, he'd never read a series book. He never experienced reading a series book. He didn't check off picture books. And when I asked him about that, he said that he used to like picture books when he was younger, but now he's too old for them, which is understandable. And then he said no to chapter books. So when I used the reading interest survey by Scholastic, it was determined that he does not read very much for enjoyment. He likes mystery books and survival type books best, and his favorite book is Hatchet, written by Gary Paulson. He likes to read in the classroom and around other people and loud noises, while reading does not bother him. He doesn't read any series books, so he doesn't have a favorite. He prefers fiction stories to nonfiction books because he believes that, the books based in real information and people are boring. Big words make it difficult for him to read, and he would like to learn how to read more efficiently and at a quicker pace. So, teachers and parents, especially for children like this child, could encourage children to read more often and make reading more fun for them, especially if they do like to read occasionally, but they don't read very often. You could do activities, fun activities, reading with them. You could read with the children, sit down for 20 minutes out of a day and actually read a story that they would enjoy with them. Positive reinforcement could be something. If you read this, and this, we can have a prize or something like that. All these could have positive impacts on a child's view of reading. It could make it more fun for them, and it could also help ensure success in reading. Now, children with issues with bigger words and vocabulary, like this boy, could really highly benefit from reading more often. It might get a little frustrating for him. So, using reading strategies, practicing using comprehension strategies could help him better understand vocabulary, so that he can read more often, which will in turn develop his vocabulary. All right, and that was the conclusion to my interview with the child. It was a very interesting experience. I liked it a lot, and I found out that children can be very blunt with their answers. And yeah, I would like to do the same interview, but maybe with a child that actually likes reading and have the comparisons between the two. I think that would be really, really interesting. So I might end up doing that just for fun at some point. And I'm really, really looking forward to watching your guys' videos and seeing your presentations about y'all's interviews as well and see how those went. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see y'all's videos and presentations as well.